Hello and welcome to another edition of my podcast. I am Dr. Cedric Wood, and I'd like to call this Are You Kidding Me? Because there's so many things that I see in the news going on in our country that just surprises me. Today, what I saw on the news was the story about the real ID, the personal ID. Well, I thought, well, I've got a driver's license. That's a perfectly good ID. But no, coming up, that's not going to be good enough. You've got to go and get a special one, especially if you want to travel anytime soon, or even if you want to make it through the TSA when you go to the airport traveling locally. And why are they doing this and causing all this stress and hassle? They showed the rooms all full of people waiting in line to get in there and get their real ID with a little star up at the right hand corner. So it's clearly putting a lot of people in a lot of stress, and the Today Show was covering it. And they just happened to mention that this idea for this began back at 2/11, but it's 2/11, 9/11, and it's just now finding fruition. It's just now getting through. And I started thinking, isn't that interesting? That locally here in North Texas, right up here in Plano, they're trying to build an entire community that's going to be primarily Muslim community. It's called EPIC, East Plano Islam Center. Oh, that's a great name. And they were all excited about laying it out, I'm sure, all the developers. So they had a meeting about it, and I think they said 60 people got up and spoke, and 57 of them were against it. 3 were in favor of this new development. I could go on for an hour about that dynamic. I'll just start at the very beginning by saying they should hire 2 or even 3 psychologists, someone like me, family therapist, to go in and assess what's going on in the minds and the hearts, the souls and the psyches of these people who want to come into America and establish this Muslim stronghold. Are you surprised Americans stood up and were against that? Now, if you want to say, yes, I'm surprised, I don't know why they're against it. Well, just remember what was said today, that we're having to get this ID to make sure you are who you are at the airport. It started at 9/11 when some Muslims thought it was a good idea to hijack 4 airliners, to fly 2 of them into very well-known tower buildings in New York, the World Trade Center, another one into the Pentagon. I don't know where the 4th one was heading, but they crashed. A horrible disaster of humanity. 3,000 people killed at the World Trade Center. Many more at the Pentagon and on the other plane. How do you think Americans are going to feel about Muslims having that in our minds, in our memories? Not good. Okay? What about the bombing at the United States, the foreign country where they had their headquarters? They were bombed at the embassy. What about the fiasco in Iraq? What about the fiasco in Afghanistan? Americans killed. What about the fiasco in the country of Syria with that Islamic leader there. Just horrible, egomaniacal man. So this need for personal ID that's causing so much stress, and that's the least of our worries, really. But they were caused by Muslims at 9/11. It kind of makes you think, what are you thinking to want to establish this stronghold in America that's focused on Islam and Islamic people? Don't you know that's going to just turn Americans off? Considering what? What you have done that is so cruel, so egomaniacal, so psychopathological. If they would come and let me interview them here in my office on my podcast, I would love to hear their reaction. Because in my mind, no one of the Islamic persuasion has gone in front of the camera and said, "We are so sorry. What they did at 9/11 was horrible, egomaniacal, so unnecessary. People killed, and every time there's one person that's killed, there's 10, 20, or 30 that are heartbroken, immediate family members, larger family members, and then their community. Heartbroken. So we're really talking about 1 million people at least, because really it broke all Americans' hearts. And I don't know if we were 330 million at the time. It broke all of our hearts. And yet the religion of those people is being touted. We need a Muslim stronghold and community where we can live proud and free. Great. I think that's a fantastic idea. Go to Syria and do that. Go to Jordan. Do that. Go to Egypt or Iran and do that. Build a community. Build a mosque. Practice your religion. Why are you doing it here? It's just shocking. And so I have to supply answers out of my own mind. Well, the most obvious one is why all foreigners are coming here, because America is a great country, created and built for hundreds of years by who? Older white males. We're pretty special, aren't we? Because that's who did it. Now, millions have contributed over the past 20, 40, 70 years that aren't white males. It's true. We're all working together to create an excellent country, and that's what all these millions of migrants are coming here for. They want to take advantage of what we've created here. We've done such a good job. I mean, those Colombians, why don't they just build a country as good as America right there in their home countries, their own language, their own ilk, their own culture? Why not do it there? Because the government there is not functioning well enough to create a country like that. Millions of them are going to Canada because Canada is doing a good job. So I would love to invite them to come and sit with me in my podcast and answer these questions. Because for this community to go through, there would be a number of things that would have to happen first. And I think that there would be psychologists hired to go and give psychological health, personality health tests to each and every one of the leaders. That's PH. Remember those two letters. I'm going to say that a score of 5 is the highest personality health. A score of one is the most depraved, sick personality health. And that's what we saw on October the 7th, 2023, when depraved Muslims thought it was a good idea to take guns across the border into Israel, where young people were celebrating life with a music festival, delicious food. And what did Muslims decide to do? Let's go kill them. We want to kill them. What are you doing? I'm sure one or two of them were raped. A whole lot of them were taken hostage, and we're still working through that. Mr. and Mrs. Muslim, you haven't shown yourself to be good people. Don't come here to America and start trying to build Muslim communities. Think it through. How does it affect us? Well, we found out the other day when 57 out of 60 speakers said, no, we don't want you here. I assume it's based on the behavior that we've seen you exhibit, and we haven't seen you make amends and turn around your attitudes and your behaviors. We haven't seen it. So don't think you're going to get a pass to come here and start building the kind of community based on the kind of religion that caused so many people through these many years to be killed. The Ottoman Empire thought it was a good idea to go and tear down the walls and fight the young men of Constantinople, killing them and taking over and robbing them of their riches. I know that was clear back in 1453, and we could also talk about the horror of the crusade of 1202, I think. They did the same thing, and those were Christians. I get it. What I want you to see in this show is I'm going to look at things from both sides. But here's the thing. 800 years later, Pope John Paul went before the microphone and the camera and sincerely apologized to the Eastern Orthodox Pope for that attack by the Crusaders in 1202. I haven't heard the speech. I assume he said that was terrible, it was horrible to tear down your walls, to kill your young men, and rob all of your wonderful riches and exotic, expensive materials to take home for themselves. They were no better than a common low-life thief to do that in 1202. Now let's have let's have the Persians apologize for what they've done through the years. So this is the kind of topic I'm going to be covering in my podcast, looking at current struggles and troubles and see it through the lens of, you can see over here, through the lens of transactional analysis. A lot of it will be parent, adult, child, or the three ego states, and so many more models that I've created. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll come back again. Hopefully I'll have graphics and wonderful music to come up and then to go down when I'm ready to leave the podcast. I hope this was helpful. If you have any suggestions about what you want me to cover, let me know. Give me a call. I am Dr. Cedric Wood right here in Dallas, Texas. Bye for now.